It's crazy to me that JK Rowling has turned into an enemy of left-wing people. Because back in the day, she used to be the most insufferable and annoying, obnoxious feminist on the entire internet.
Oh dear, it's not a very good time to be Emma Watson, is it? From child actor to indie darling to big budget star, and finally to whiny, controversial and divisive activist, increasingly disconnected from reality and now publicly ridiculed by one of the biggest names in modern culture in what may go down as the most savage dressing down in history. Ever since she exploded onto the big screen with the Harry Potter franchise, her acting has carried her to the very cusp of A-level stardom before it all came to a shuddering halt in one of the most baffling acts of career self-sabotage outside of Rachel Zegler.
It's Hollywood, baby.
A woman who pinned her reputation, her public image, and her entire worldview on whatever happened to be most popular at the time, never considering that the cultural winds might change and what's popular today might not be popular tomorrow.
That's what I think happens with a lot of people, is that they simply have viewpoints on things based off of what's popular. And I think a lot of celebrities and content creators do the exact same thing. If it's popular to post memes about Donald Trump, then they'll do it.
Let us examine the crash and burn of Emma Watson. Emma Charlotte Duer Watson was born in Paris, France in 1990 to a pair of wealthy lawyers. So she grew up with all the benefits of having wealthy parents, private schooling, tuition, multiple homes, and access to any clubs and interests she wanted to pursue.
Good for her.
One of which turned out to be acting. She basically is Hermione Granger. Anyway, by 1990, a series of books about a boy wizard were turning out to be pretty popular, and work soon began on adapting them into a movie franchise. For this, they needed a bunch of child actors to play the three leads, including Hermione. Their searching soon led them to the Oxford Acting School where Watson was studying, and after no fewer than 8 auditions, she was finally cast in the role.
And to be fair, I think the casting in Harry Potter, the original series, was S-tier, A-list, amazing actors. The casting in the original Harry Potter was flawless.
All I can say about her early performances is, you can tell that she was a theatre kid, that's for sure.
I'm Hermione Granger, and you are?
I think that she played the role perfectly. I'm going to be totally honest. I think she did such a great job.
For a 10-year-old that had never acted in a movie before, I guess she was fine.
Yeah, she
Daniel
did amazing.
Radcliffe was way better, though. Anyway, you don't need me to tell you that the Harry Potter movies would go on to become a global phenomenon over the next several years, keeping Watson and her co-stars so busy that she literally didn't act in anything else until 2007, when she appeared in the TV movie Ballet Shoes, a film that landed mixed reviews and didn't do a whole lot for her career. Yeah. In public, the Harry Potter series was going from strength to strength, but behind the scenes, the cracks were starting to show. Watson and the others were burned out by the constant demands of filming and promotional tours, and when it came time to renegotiate her contract after the Goblet of Fire, she seriously considered leaving the franchise altogether. Wow. Still, she was eventually convinced to sign on again. By 2011, the series came to a close with Deathly Hallows Part 2. For the first time in more than a decade, Watson was on her own. She'd basically grown up with Harry Potter. She'd never had a normal childhood or lived a normal life. Her first few outings were mostly low-budget indie movies, everything from biopics like My Week with Marilyn to romantic dramas like The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and even heist movies like Bling Ring. None of them were big hits, but they did at least prove that she could be more than a mildly annoying bookworm with crappy hair. 2014 saw her move into
I'm gonna be honest, she made generational wealth with Harry Potter. If she wants to go back to just being French indie movies, I think that's great. Good for her. Like, you did your time in the spotlight. You did everything. You made your really, really good movie.
Budget filmmaking with Darren Aronofsky's Noah, followed up by low-budget thrillers Colonia and Regression. Yeah. No matter the budget or the quality of the movie, one thing that stayed consistent were the positive reviews for Watson's acting. Now in her mid-20s and arguably at the peak of her career, she was developing a reputation as an eclectic and confident performer, willing to take on challenging roles and play against type, equally at home on the big or the small screen. An actor who wasn't just chasing fame and money, but taking on projects with actual artistic merit. Well done, Emma. Ooh. Her star was rising. She was rapidly becoming the new it girl of Hollywood. Yeah. Young, talented, intelligent, and sophisticated.
Very hot.
She could navigate interviews like a pro.
Yes.
She was a natural in front of the camera, and she held all the correct opinions on important political topics. When the Me Too movement kicked off, Emma was all over it like a fly on shit, making speeches.
And to be fair, at the beginning, the Me Too movement had a lot of validity. And women, and actually especially just mainly women, and also men to a lesser extent, do experience a degree of abuse and manipulation and control. And this always has been a case. I agreed with some of the original Me Too stuff. I feel like it evolved to be, you know, if a guy flirts with you, you know, he needs to get, like, castigated on social media and get fired. Like, that's stupid. But, like, the Harvey Weinstein stuff, I'm totally on board with.
She's about feminism.
Terry Crews talked about it. Yeah, Terry Crews, great example.
Establishing activism groups and even getting appointed to the UN as their...
By the way, like, if you ever noticed that I don't really comment on a lot of female streamers' appearances, and I never did, like, a female streamer, like, who's the hottest tier list, it's because this is an actual value that I have that I preach myself.
Ambassador for women, because truly, no one understands the plight of women in repressive third world regimes better than a multi-millionaire, privately educated theatre kid Hollywood actress that's never held a normal job in her entire life.
Yeah. Really?
But more on that later. Pretty soon, Watson wasn't content just to make speeches in front of rooms full of elderly politicians who probably wish they were literally anywhere else. She was bringing her activism directly into the movies she starred in. The live-action Beauty and the Beast was rewritten at her request to make Belle into an inventor and engineer. Her political worldview could best be described as, I support current thing. No matter the issue, no matter the complexity or the nuance, you could pretty much guarantee that Emma Watson would be right there in the thick of it, pushing whatever...
My favorite part about this was, do you remember whenever the Israel-Palestine stuff really started to kick off, and every celebrity didn't know which way to virtue signal? So they were all just taking shots in the dark, and it's like, oh, maybe this is the thing that I have to say to make people like me. Oh my god, that was the funniest month of my life.
The progressive consensus happened to be at the time. She was less of a person with her own opinions and ideas and more like a series of safe, politically correct talking points wrapped up in a flesh suit, all delivered
I do think that she became one of those people that's like, I am the person that has all the right opinions on issues, and I want to talk about all of these issues, and people should listen to me because I'm, like, virtuous and good. I do think that she definitely put out that image.
The kind of sneering upper-class British disdain that can only truly come from playing life on easy mode from the day she was born. But just like an overloaded cauldron filled with the wrong ingredients, problems were a-brewing, dear viewer. Remember the lady who wrote all those wizarding books? Well, it turns out she'd become quite rich and famous over the years, and as a big raging progressive feminist herself, she and Emma were marching in lockstep on almost every issue. All except one. Turns out that the wizarding lady had a few issues with the T part of LGBT and began voicing her concerns with increasing volume. Yep. And the reaction from the other side was, well, how can I put this?
Well, I don't even think that she has issues necessarily with trans people. It's just that she doesn't want them to use women's bathrooms. I don't think that she necessarily hates trans people, period. I mean, maybe she would be more negative to them now because of, like, how much, like, you know, like, weird shit that's happened.
Now Emma was in a bit of a tricky spot because she'd made it her mission in life to support current thing. But now the wizarding lady who she owed her entire career and stardom to was openly attacking one of the most sacred parts of current thing. What to do? Should she stand firm beside her friend of 20 years and back her up? Should she maintain a dignified silence and refuse to get drawn into a fight that wasn't hers?
Thing is, like, you don't have to have an opinion on everything.
She turn her back on the wizarding lady, hang her out to dry, and make increasingly passive-aggressive attacks against her. I think you can guess which one she chose. And the thing is, that all worked great when Emma seemed to be on the side of current thing and the wizarding lady definitely wasn't. The problem with current thing though is that eventually it tends to change, and by 2025 the cultural winds had shifted dramatically. Public opinion on the issue was changing, and suddenly the wizarding lady wasn't seen as the evil witch who had to be defeated anymore. Now people were beginning—
Well, she never was. The majority of people always supported JK Rowling's perspective on trans people and the way that they can be in women's spaces. There's nothing radical about not wanting men in the women's restroom.
to actually listen and even openly support her, and it began to occur to Emma that she might have backed the wrong horse on this one. So what to do? Stand her ground and maintain her position even if it wasn't so popular anymore? Or do a complete about-face and pretend like she'd never disagreed with the Wizarding Lady in the first place? Well, the answer came on September the 24th on Jay Shetty's On Purpose podcast.
See, this is a mistake. People that aren't used to doing long-form live content that won't be edited really need to be careful about doing long-form live content that won't be edited. There are a lot of examples of people that whenever they go live, they say things that they shouldn't say. It's better to just not do it.
Where Emma claimed that she loved the Wizarding Lady and supported her and would always be open to talking with her. That's interesting coming from someone who spent half a decade publicly shitting on her. This particular interview came to the attention of the Wizarding Lady, who until now had stayed pretty quiet on the topic of young Emma. Not anymore, as it turned out, when she decided to deliver mother of all dressing downs a couple of days later in a very lengthy Twitter post.
It's also, like, by the way, it's also a mistake to get in an argument on a text platform with a writer.
Calling out Watson as a spineless grifter, a shameless opportunist, a fair-weather friend, and a spoiled, privileged brat that had never worked a day in her life and was only trying to cozy up to her again.
I'm going to read this paragraph. Like other people who have never experienced adult life uncushioned by wealth and fame, Emma has so little experience of real life, she's ignorant to how ignorant she is. She'll never need a homeless shelter. She's never going to be placed on a mixed-sex public hospital ward. I'd be astounded if she's even been in a high street changing room since childhood. Her, quote, public bathroom is single occupancy and comes with a security man standing guard outside the door. Has she had to strip off in a newly mixed-sex changing room at a council-run swimming pool? Is she ever likely to need a state-run crisis center that refuses to guarantee an all-female service? To find herself sharing a prison cell with a male who's identified into the woman's prison?
Because it was politically safe now.
I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14. I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma famous. Wow.
Damn, bro, I've seen Mortal Kombat fatalities that were more forgiving than this. I've seen many a debate, many a scathing put-down and brutal rebuttal in my time, but never in all of my days have I witnessed a person publicly dismantled with such brutal finesse. Proof that if there's one group of people you really don't want to piss off in the online space, it's writers, especially
big surprise.
Billionaire writers with hundreds of millions of fans behind them who built their entire careers out of basically nothing. With that one post, Emma Watson's public persona was transformed from
she wasn't a known writer at all. She said that the reason why she used the JK Rowling instead of her full name is because she thought that boys would be more willing to read Harry Potter if they didn't know it was written by a woman. And you know what? I think she was right.
Slightly preachy but relatively respected activist to the living personification of everything that people find so repellent about Hollywood actors. The smug, patronising, I know better than you attitude, the echo chamber mentality that comes from a life of privilege and luxury, and worst of all, the willingness to abandon any position the moment it becomes unpopular. She wasn't just
that's what's going to happen with all of them. And this is the reason why nobody should take celebrity or streamer opinions that seriously.
Opinionated and insufferable, she was a coward. And for someone who built their entire brand on fearlessly speaking truth to power, well, that was the most damaging revelation of all. So what's next for Emma Watson? Can she possibly claw her way back from this? Well, her movie career basically ended 5 years ago when she pulled the plug on acting to focus on activism, so I don't really know if there's any momentum left behind her, even if she wanted to make a comeback.
That's because the culture has become a lot more polarized. I think that actors and actresses that are holding very strong political opinions, even opinions that a lot of people agree with, the companies just don't want to deal with them. They don't want to deal with them because they don't want to accidentally alienate audiences.
She's not likely to make much progress as an activist either now that her cover's been blown and she's willing to soften her position on the whole.
That's true. The moment that you soften your position or you change your position on any of these things is the moment that those people won't like you anymore.
If there's one thing that particular group of activists won't accept, it's betrayal. So it kind of feels like she's f***ed either way. Emma Watson really is proof that if you stand for nothing, well, you'll fall for anything. Anyway, That's all I've got for today. Go away now.
I think a lot of people are just tired of being talked down to by celebrities. It's a Critical Drinker video. Make sure to give it a like. JK's tweet was wild, though. Well, I mean, like, that's what you get, though, right? I mean, if you try to pander to that group of people for that long, for that hard, that's what you get, man.